Ciao. I think we nailed it.
Yeah.
Sadly, we didn't nail it. As you can tell from the image right before, it's completely out of focus. And it happened with a lot of the episode. We don't know why, but our camera is a bit of a rebel and decides it doesn't want to have focus regardless of us setting it to have focus prior. We're trying to get better. We hope we're better. Sadly for Natalie, the last part when she introduces herself won't be on focus, but the episode is amazing and we hope you guys enjoy. Welcome to With an Accent, a podcast of Università, Cattolica del Sacro, Cuore. In this podcast we'll hear stories about international students, their struggles, their moments of happiness, stories about the food that they miss, the smells that they miss, but also the time where they finally felt they belong. The moment where everything clicked and finally Italy became their place. Hi guys, welcome back to With an Accent, a podcast of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore from a new setting with Arco della Pace right behind us. I'm Matteo Medina Awad. I study here too. I'm doing communication for business, media and culture, a master's. Yes. And I'm a second year student. And yeah guys, today we're gonna talk about something really important, which is something that I guess we all go through rather from second zero, a month, a year, every day, which is basically the moments of crisis. They look very differently. They can appear in multiple ways. But today we're going to talk about the toolkits that we built and how we handle those crises. And we continue talking about the journey that all of us international students have to go through to make us feel we belong in Italy, in Milano, in Cattolica, and in this random moment of the universe where we decided to go and study abroad. Today I'm with Natalie, who joined us from Jordan. I mean, she's a bit under pressure because basically whatever she says is going to be something that helps you and me.
Don't put that pressure on me.
No, I'm joking. This is basically an opportunity for us to sort of see how another fellow student works in those moments. And other than that, welcome guys. Thank you, Natalie, again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. And first of all, easy, tough question. So you get a 4.5-hour trip. You're here. You land in Milan. So you get to that shock. You're here. You're fresh out of the oven.
Of the oven.
I don't know. How was it coming here?
It was during the beginning, like my first week here, I was with my parents because they were helping me get settled into my residence and get my phone line, find.
So they help you find College of Fiscale to get the phone line. They already set you up to your home in the.
Yeah, like I bought my pots, my pans, my kitchen stuff. I even bought spices from back home because they do not exist here, and they kind of just helped me settle. And during that time, of course, I was in La La Land. Like I wasn't processing what was happening. I didn't even believe that I was in Italy. Like I still didn't comprehend the idea that I even got accepted into Cattolica, I was just in the air, until I actually had to ground myself and okay, you're here, you need to lock in, university, and yeah.
But honestly, Italy doesn't really get you a lot of La La Land time because you have 7 days to fill out a form for them to give you the Permesso di Soggiorno, for them to give you everything. So there's 1 day of dream La La Land, and there's 6 days of I need to get all my papers, I need to have everything, I need to have a contract, I need to have this. How was the handling for a 17-year-old fresh out of Jordan?
A child. It was scary. It was I don't know how to describe it. I felt like I was thrown into a battlefield and they're yeah, fend for yourself. I was just so lost. I was doing everything on autopilot, I was just so overwhelmed trying to get things done. And then the language barriers, and then the people here are really different. So it took me a while to just get used to that and adapt to how things are done here and the bureaucracy and probably my biggest nightmare, which is Permesso di Soggiorno, and going through that alone at 17 with no Italian was probably one of the most traumatic experiences of my life.
If I'm honest, the Permesso di Soggiorno is traumatic at 17, at 18, at 20, at 25, at 28, at 30. It's the most traumatic time of your life. It's a moment where you don't know if you fill out the form and you fill it out incorrectly, everything's gonna go wrong. If you like do something wrong with the language, if there's like a wrong interaction, even like social codes regarding like how do you talk to a policeman, how do you handle everything. What do you remember of those times?
I remember that I emailed the admissions teams a lot. Like I was always asking
They're
them
the
like,
best.
what is this? Like please help me. The questura, oh my god, like staying there for like 6 hours just to waiting for your turn.
But how is it dealing with like both? You have administrative turmoil. You have a lot of things that you have to do in the administrative side of stuff. You have to figure out a lot of elements. You need to have a lot of papers. You need to have all this like control. But at the same time, you need to handle your emotions because you have that happiness of, oh my God, I'm in Italy. That moment of being scared, like, oh my God, I'm in Italy. That moment of rush of, oh my God, I'm in Italy. And that moment of, oh my God, are they gonna give me my permesso and am I gonna be able to stay in Italy? So how is it that a 17-year-old manages all of that? Because if you take Matteo at 17, I don't know, it's
Describe it in 3 words.
probably would die.
Okay. Okay, interesting. I would want 17-year-old Natalie to meet 17-year-old Matteo.
She would be helpful.
I just want to see the dynamic, you know.
She would be helpful for sure.
Really?
But how was it for you? Yeah.
She was not mentally present, like like just on autopilot, you know, like I don't even remember like what happened from how like chaotic it was. Like it took me a while to find like the kind of like the mechanisms I used to like get through that. It took me a while because like when you're 17, like you're still growing up. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you like, what you don't like, your identity.
I mean, I'm 28 and I'm still there. So
Trust me, so am I. But like, it's even worse when you're 17, you know, especially like being alone in a new country. And especially because like Jordan is so different than Italy. Like in Jordan, like you have no privacy whatsoever, you know, like you're always with your family. Everyone's overhearing your conversations. Everyone's eating together. Everyone's doing everything together. And then you come to Italy and it's like everyone's alone. Everyone's doing their own thing, you know, they're independent. They have their own schedule, their own to-dos. So like when I came here, I was like, oh, okay, what do I do now? You know, like I don't have to abide by like the family schedule, you know, like I'm free to do whatever I want. So like it took me a while. During the beginning, I didn't really have that, like the mechanisms that like I developed now, because I think like the more time you spend alone abroad, like the more you discover about yourself and what you like, what you don't like, what feels right, what doesn't feel right. And like along the way, I realized that of course, like having my mom as a support system will always be my number one. And like calling her and just, you know, like updating her, talking to her, and of course ranting, venting, and like she does the same, you know, like when work for her gets too stressful, like it's always like a reciprocated kind of thing.
At some point, daughter and mother, or mom and son and whatever, you sort of became a dual support system, because you're there for them as they are also there for you, and it grows on you. Yeah.
I mean, it is also a bit more difficult because of like the online like, you know, calling each other. Like in person, it's much more comfortable, of course, but like it's also like a bit difficult for us to find the right times to call each other. So like it's usually just me on the metro, like yelling my brains out.
Yourself and many other foreigners and like migrants and everyone, every single one of us, for whatever reason, like the best place to call our people is public transport.
Exactly, you know, and it's like, of course, I'm the most annoying one on the metro because like I'm speaking another language, and if I'm mad, my voice may like, I know, I have to work on this.
You know what I do? I usually like keep my volume, like the volume a bit lower, so I can listen to how loudly I'm talking to sort of try and regulate my voice.
Like usually, like because I'm speaking Arabic, you know, I think I'm like being slick, you know, like no one understands what I'm saying right now, you know, like I'm in my own zone, I can say whatever I want, and then like I find like 3 or 4 other Arabs in the metro, I'm like, I've been caught, you know, like, but it's fine.
But other than your mom and voicing your thoughts out and having that support system, what else do you do?
I like found out that like I really like feel better when I journal my thoughts, you know, like I have my own little journal, And usually like if like at least once a week, you know, like I will just set 30 minutes before I sleep, you know, and just write down everything that is on my mind. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be in the right order. It doesn't have to be organized. It doesn't even have to be like in the same languages. Just like anything that comes to my mind, I just write it down and how I feel about it, like what type of emotion I'm feeling, because like it helps me ground myself in a way, and it just helps me become like more aware of myself, emotionally aware. So like I know what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling that way. And like even though it doesn't really solve the problem in itself, it just helps me feel better. Like it helps me feel more in control in a way, because I understand myself.
Yeah, it gives you a floor.
Yeah, it
to
does.
sort of stand
Yes.
and see how it is you're feeling and how it is you're dealing with stuff. But how did you get to journaling? Because a lot of people, like, again, you're young, and a lot of people struggle in finding those tools that allow them to deal with the tough times. Like, for example, in my case, sometimes I guess I like to cook. I like to vent down, just watching down a series that I already know of. So I already know what's going to happen. I already have a lot of thought to give to stuff. And I sort of passively live my dark days and sort of try and catch, support system, mom, friends, etc. But most of all, it's passive. But you're taking more of an active decision on how to handle your stuff. How did you get there?
I remember like me and my friends, we were just walking once, and one of them mentioned journaling. She said that she likes to journal because it like helps her get her thoughts straight, and then she feels like she can talk about her situation better. And then like kind of I thought about it myself, and I was like, wow, okay, that could actually help, you know, because like my thoughts are very chaotic, you know, they don't really make sense until I like actually just write everything down and just have it on paper. And I feel like that really helps me like kind of just put a name to what I'm feeling, you know. So it like I just tried it out once and I really liked it, and I felt like I feel better, you know, like I feel like I also like released all that tension on paper, you know. And ever since that I've just been doing it, you know.
And have you created your own language through your journaling? In the sense like your own social code and your own norms, like red is that I'm effing angry, blue is that I'm gloomy, sad, or that sort of elements, or how do you handle your journal?
I mean, I have my stickers. I love my stickers, you know. It's childish, I know, but like...
But it's not childish at all.
It helps me visualize, you know. Like I usually like for every entry, I just put a sticker that resonates with how I'm feeling. Like it could be someone like trying to rip their hair out, and like if I'm feeling frustrated, like stick it, you know. And it just, you know, like ties it all up. Also,
that's great. And now that you have like the emotional stuff and the emotional tough moments and those like lows, there's also a shock that we all feel, rather than only the emotional or the purely bureaucratic. It's also the academical shock. Fresh out of journeying, fresh out of everything, you get to encounter yourself with the Italian system, and honestly it's very different to what a lot of people are used to. How was handling that first moments of lows also with it when it comes to academics and when it comes to studying?
Mm-hmm. So my first semester of uni, I was completely lost. You know, like I had all of these different courses that I had no idea like what they were about even. I didn't know that there was this much like reading, you know, and like it was just a lot of information in like being taught in a way that I wasn't used to, you know, like 2-hour lectures or 3-hour lectures of someone just talking, and then like all of the typing, so like systematic, you know. It's like as soon as the lecturer starts speaking and everyone's like da da da, and I'm like, oh okay, what is this, you know? Yeah. And my first exam season was probably hell. Like I don't even remember half of it from how like traumatized I was. Yeah, no, because like I do get really anxious when it comes to exams, and like the concept of oral exams has never ever like
ceased to amaze.
Yes, honestly, like I've never encountered something like this. Like at first I was like, what even, like, and my first one felt like an interrogation, you know. I was like,
yeah,
how do I handle this? But yeah, my first oral exam, I left bawling my eyes out. Of course, I was like, Mom, I can't do this anymore. Take me back. And then she was like, no, you got this. Just you need to get used to things. And it was kind of like exposure therapy. Like each exam, I kind of got more used to the type of questioning they use, what kind of things they like to hear, what kind of like concepts they like you to elaborate on. And then I realized that actually it's not that bad, it kind of becomes like a discussion in the end. And it really, really helps you build your social skills, because like you are really like put on the spot,
Yeah, for sure.
You're in a pretty vulnerable position, honestly. Like it's not easy to do. And I always try to prepare as much as I can before an exam, so I can have the studying part out of the way. So then it's just me handling the emotional component. So yeah, like that really helps.
God, I envy you so much, because you're so mature in approaching all these elements that it goes to show you that you've literally like been with yourself a lot. Like you've managed to build a toolkit, and that actually gets me like to the second part of like this toolkit, and it's like those moments when you feel like more lonely. Like how was it for you to build a community? Was it for you to build friends and to build like a support system here? Because you have your mom and you have your journal,
My little journal.
Yeah.
It did take me a while, but I do live in a residence. So like I live with a bunch of other university students, not necessarily from Cattolica, but so basically we have a common kitchen. And this is like very scary to 17-year-old Natalie, because it's like you have to go cook your own food in a shared space, wash your dishes and go back. But I think I was terrified of the kitchen like when I first arrived. And I remember like I didn't even go like the first week until like the other like people who lived there, they knocked on my door and they were like, I'm gonna add you to the group. So I was like, oh, okay. And then they were like, you should come to the kitchen, like we want to see you around and stuff. And I was like, okay, so I went once, I was like, one day I was just like, you know what? I need to start making friends. Like I need to get out of my comfort zone and I need to put myself out there. And I just went and it wasn't that bad. Of course, I was like very awkward and stuff. But then as time passed, yeah, my mom always says that food really brings people together. And I didn't believe her until like after a week of going to the kitchen consistently. Because, like everyone cooks different types of food and we also have different cultures. So yeah, you just kind of bond over it. You start talking about culture, you start talking about home, you start getting to know each other. And that really helped me like build a community. And like I also like I found my girl group.
Now you have like your mom support system, your journal support system, and your girls.
My girls.
Yeah.
I love my girls. I love girlhood, like just gossiping, talking about girly stuff, hair, makeup, shopping, I love it.
What do you feel about your community anchor, like that building that support system, those friends? Because it takes time and sometimes it's hard while you get there, no? How was it for you
It took me some time actually, because I wasn't very like open as a person. I was very introverted and closed off, and I was like scared, I was like, what if they don't like me and stuff. But then like as I started to grow more and I started to discover who I am and like my identity as a person, I realized like, yeah, I don't really care if they like,
Chista?
like, yeah, I am chista, like if you don't like me, okay, whatever. So then I just, I unapologetically start being who I am. And when you do that, you actually find your group, because you are actually being yourself and you find other people who are also being themselves. So
Natalie, this has been super great. I feel like a lot of people are going to find a lot of the toolkits that you're bringing like super useful. But there's like one final thing that we like to do in With an Accent, and it's we have this opportunity to let people speak in their language, but you're a bilingual girly, so I'm gonna let you be a bilingual speaker. Like if you had to like talk to yourself both in English and in Arabic, you can choose which words you use in which. But basically, to sort of talk to Natalie before she came, to sort of recognize the tools that you've built and everything, just talk to yourself in that sense. So yeah, what would you tell to yourself?
To my like past self.
So 17-year-old poor Natalie thrown into a battlefield, like you said.
I would say خلاص ما تتوتري, just be yourself. وخلص امشي. الحياة بتمشي، يعني إيش ما تسوي خلص اللي رح يصير يصير and just let it come so it can pass. Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm from Jordan and I'm a second-year student doing psychology in Università Cattolica.
As Natalie was saying at the end, lo que será, será. What will be, will be. Life often comes at us in many ways. And sometimes all we have to do is stop, write down how we feel, talk to our loved ones, and life can be great again. And we can recharge from our community and from the friends we've built and from the life we're building in Milan. You've been listening to With an Accent, a podcast of Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore. A special thank you goes to Istituto Toniolu for letting us use this beautiful new set. We hope you enjoyed it. Ciao!